Marlins game. The people, even in the fancy schmancy seats behind home plate there, everybody's on their cell phone and nobody's watching the action. Nobody.
Our friend George was asking if how much would they pay you? How much would they have to pay to go to the game? And I laughed. I said, Defo used to go regularly. That's
a good ballpark from viewing. Yes. The problem is crossing into Dade County. I mean, as soon as you cross into Dade County, the driving tactics are altered completely. It's like Formula One versus NASCAR from Broward to Dade.
Is it bad that I feel more comfortable there? Like I was there Saturday.
Yeah.
Just driving like a loon, and it's accepted.
I spent much time there, trust me.
Like I get into Broward, and I have to like control myself. And it's not like Broward's perfect. It's still South Florida, but it's
no. I mean, the drivers are awful. Probably. I mean, you would hear this in every city. Oh, man, nobody drives.
No. Miami's great. Miami, you can do like the stuff you would get honked.
You don't know
at.
if the guy next to you is passed away and is at the wheel. Like literally Weekend at Bernie's.
Like you pull moves anywhere, even in Broward. Like you cut someone off the middle finger, and I'm like, dude.
Oh yeah.
I didn't even do anything to you. But if you drive in Miami like a lunatic, no one even notices. They're like, that's normal.
Very normal, yeah. I mean, the rules are suspended there of any kind of road etiquette. That's for sure.
They don't honk.
Tires are flying out of nowhere, even though they didn't come off any car. People are dropping stones from the bridges. The fuck?
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And a very pleasant good morning, everybody. Welcome to a Degenerate Friday edition of the program. I can't believe it. These 2-day weeks, they suit me just fine.
Exactly.
We're doing that no filter thing. In fact, I was speaking with those people again yesterday, a project I'm going to resurrect here coming up on Monday, nofilter.net, a little bury your bookie segment. I had to change the name from my preferred title for betting programs, which would be Licensed to Steal, implying that you were going to offer people a license to just print money, which can we say that with our track record for picking winners? Now, yesterday, and of course, I never said this on the air, so can we consider it an official pick, or is it just strictly a mind bet at that point?
I mean, we can give you
credit. Would you not have gone with the two unders? I know Gurgles was very enthusiastically embracing the over in the Patriots NFL preseason game. And the Patriots, they were playing Carolina. So you figure Carolina stinks. I mean, is Carolina going to explode and put 40 points on the board? The likelihood of that would be Mr. Blutarsky 0.0, as they would say in France. Do they do that? Did they make that announcement that way? What would it be? 9-0. You were getting like a 9.0. 9-0. Is 9 in French? I don't know. We're talking German here. What the fuck am I talking about?
Either of those languages.
I used to be able to speak a little bit of French. That's escaped. That's no longer going to happen. But I mean, it was and it was just a wild array of stuff that was happening. We were going to get into it yesterday. We're kind of operating like a Spirit Airlines flight, where and maybe that was the source. Could that have been the source of this Noah Lyles condition that I'm still suffering from? Okay. Where we were sitting on the plane. They board the plane 4:00, half hour past post time. Right. Spirit Airlines flight out of Fort Lauderdale. Usually fairly. I mean, a lot of the Spirit Airlines flights, and especially somebody ask us about Silver Airways?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, it was Mayo, I think. No.
Yesterday brought up.
Yeah, Mayo was talking about Silver Airways because he's only going to have that as an option to fly to Tallahassee. And all I can say to that is bon voyage and good luck. They leave you standing on the tarmac there with your luggage. I mean, the plane just takes off without you. They don't even give a fuck. It's unbelievable. If they take off at all. And almost all of their flight listings for booking flights on Silver Airways, and you can look this up, Louie, they almost all have the parenthetical often delayed next to the flight schedule. Like, you're lucky if they can find a plane that they fished out of the Bermuda Triangle that was lost like 50 years ago. They don't care what machinery they're using. And I would imagine they're not exactly purchasing top-of-the-line aircraft, which is already suspect. But could it have been from sitting on we board the plane and then we sit on the runway for 2 hours, Lubie, before the plane eventually took off?
Spirit.
Right at the gate. I mean, we never left the gate. It was the guy makes the announcement. And this was my favorite of the announcements that were made during the 2 hours, which is, okay, we have an update, and the update is there's no update.
Yeah, they never update
What
you.
the fuck is this, Saturday Night Live? I mean,
Oh, now you just sitting there guessing, and it's usually the stupidest thing, and it's annoying.
yeah, but yeah, and it turned. I don't know. I mean, was that wild yesterday? We were going to talk about a bunch of stuff. We couldn't get on the show right away, and finally got into it a half hour into the program's normal time. We're figuring, okay, our trivia players want to play. Gurgles is standing by. Let's just go right into the trivia challenge. But anything that there was to talk about yesterday morning, Lubie, was that the wildest array of shit that you could ever have in the history of sports taking place yesterday, including I reinvigorated my enthusiasm for track and field. I could not believe it. That ground shot of the 110 hurdles. Did you watch any of this action yesterday? I happened to see it live, and then it was replayed later
I saw
on
the one where the woman
ABC show.
won the back-to-back and did it in ridiculous fashion. Sydney with the two last names.
Oh,
That
yeah. Oh, no. Wait, is that wrote her name down here?
Lori or something like that.
Lavone or whatever. Yeah, the girl from the McLaughlin Lavone. Or Lavore. Yeah, she's from New Jersey. I was just reading about her in a post. And what a beautiful woman, too. Did you see her later on in the interview? My God. And polished.
I didn't see her interviewing, but I saw her running, and she was spectacular. And she
came on with Tirico later on, and wow, just absolutely polished, distinguished. I mean, you would say that this is like too good of a human being to be true. You can't be this virtuous and good, can you? I mean, and then on top of that, be like an unbelievable world-class athlete. What we forgot, I think, when Wide World of Sports went out of business. We lost a lot of coverage of track and field, did we not? Is there a track and field channel somewhere, Lubie, that I'm missing?
Oh, God, I don't think so. I mean, look.
Call Sarney, see if there's a track and field channel somewhere.
Into the 90s with Michael Johnson. And then I feel like into the 2000s, it sort of fell off. And I don't know, maybe the Americans stopped being as good. So maybe that I guess when Bolt was there, it was still a big deal in the early 2000s.
When the Olympics roll around, it's a big deal. There's no doubt. Do you see a lot of coverage of it? And I mean, these guys are legitimate, and they play it like they're stars. I mean, they come on stage. Mick Jagger was in the crowd yesterday, and the crowds have been sensational at the Olympics. That's really made a lot. I mean, events that you would never even find even remotely significant. All of a sudden, with the crowd pumping the enthusiasm into it, you're saying, yeah, this is cool. Yep. Like the professor was talking about last week, that team handball is a game that it looks like it was invented by a gym teacher who said, oh, fuck, the equipment room is locked. What do I got? I got this one sponge ball. Yeah. All right, we got the two nets. Put them up there, and we'll run around and we'll throw the ball at the net.
That's 100%.
The goalie looked like he was wearing a chicken suit. That was the field hockey, men's field hockey.
The goalie just wears like regular clothes. Like they don't. You can't tell.
Yeah, he looks like it came out of the crowd.
You can't even tell. You're like,
I mean, what the fuck? You're watching this dumb game, but the crowd is so enthusiastic about it.
Yep.
You couldn't help but get into it a little bit. Water polo always fascinates me because I used to love playing. We had a pool at Syracuse in the gym at Syracuse, which was accessible to all students. I guess what would it be, like the community gym there? Did you? You must have had one of those FSU. You probably had several, no?
We had Tully Gym, and then they turned that, and then they opened up the new athletic center. And if you were a student, you had access. It was great.
Okay, and you could use a pool.
They had a pool, steam room. It worked out for 5 years.
And they had a pool there, and I'm not sure what its purpose was. They had a regular swimming pool at Syracuse in this gym, but then they had one that for a good portion of it was about 3.5 feet deep. Okay, so if you were playing half-court water polo, you could stand while you were playing the game, and that made all the difference in the world.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't know if that's water polo then.
No, but it sure was a hell of a lot of fun.
I was going to say water polo freaks me out.
And then you get in there and they're treading water the whole time. What the fuck? And kicking each other. And if it's a men's game, they're kicking each other in the balls. The women are like putting a back, what is that, rear naked chokehold. All of a sudden, you think you're in there with Ronda Rousey. I'm surprised she's not on the team. It's a fucking wrestling match.
It's classic.
It's unbelievable. But yeah, I mean the speed and athleticism that these hurdlers. It was Holloway. Was that the guy's name? He won the 110 hurdles.
Yep.
Were you watching that? I mean, and you're watching the symmetry of the movement of these guys, and you're thinking, and they're flying. They're fucking flying.
Yes, and they're going over something. It's like, how the hell?
We're like three perfect. Who has form like that?
I
Did you attempt? I mean, I will say this for the gym classes that I was involved in on Long Island. They tried to, indoctrinate you into a little bit of track and field. They gave you a little taste of everything.
Yeah,
See if you could find something that you were good at.
Well, that's good for you.
Usually, the cross country team was for loners and guys that were going to become future Ted Kaczynski types. Going to be living as loners as a Unabomber, sending anthrax to congressmen somewhere. But yeah, and those were the guys that wanted to run. What were they running? They were running like 3 miles and change was the cross country thing, wasn't it, Lubie? Did you have cross country?
We
couldn't have had cross country here in South Florida because there isn't even a single hill.
No, I don't know what the hills had to do with it, but I think we had cross country. I don't know. I was not on track. I was never a long distance runner of any kind. So I had friends on track. I never tried a hurdle. I never tried a shot put or any of that stuff.
Oh, we had to try all of this shit.
I never did any of that.
Shot put was not a stronghold of mine or a strong point. Hurdling, forget about it, man. I literally, do you not nearly pop a hamstring just watching this stuff when they're flying over these hurdles like that? And the women hurdlers from the U.S. have been sensational also. So yeah, the track and field was pretty glorious. Now what about this with this Noah Lyles, right? Where he nearly croaked after the 200 meter. He was going for the double, which is a rare accomplishment. Carl Lewis has done it, and Usain Bolt 3 times, won the 100 and the 200. And I don't know, do you have to go back to like Jim Thorpe to find out the most recent guy? I'm not sure if there are any more than that. Is it a list of 2? No, that can't be right. There had to be many sprinters that doubled in the 100 and the 200 meter. No, Lubie? What do you think? Because, didn't you see, I mean, it was Ben Johnson, remember the steroid guy? Was he winning both of those? You mentioned Michael Johnson, tough, fast runner, no doubt about it.
I don't know what Carl Lewis's events were, so I don't know if he was doing that.
Lewis was in, I mean, you talk about versatile. He couldn't sing a lick. He probably, did he make Yoko Ono sound like she was Celine Dion? I think so when he sang the national anthem. But Carl Lewis was in the sprints, and wasn't he like a gold medal long jumper also?
I think he did jumps. Yeah, Michael Johnson, I feel like would have done the 100 and the 200. Was he more long distance? I just remember him being a freaking beast, but I don't know.
I thought I saw it on a graphic that it was like Carl Lewis. Maybe that was the most recent.
Maybe.
I don't know. Carl Lewis had done it once, and then Usain Bolt had done it 3 times. But the guy tests positive for COVID after the 100 meters, and you could see he wasn't exactly on his game. If you watched, all of a sudden I'm an expert on this guy, but I know I saw a couple of features on him.
Oh, no, Lyles.
What's that?
Noah Lyles he's one of the rare track people I've heard of.
Yeah, and he literally comes out. I mean, he comes out there, and what was great? I mean, look, you had all of this celebrity quality. I kind of liked when they panned the crowd. Now you see like an aging Mick Jagger there with a 30-year-old chick. It's unbelievable. Like, Mick, you're my fucking idol, man. That's classic. Imagine all the drugs too. I mean, with all of that, you think Keith Richard was doing all of this stuff alone?
No. I mean, I think Richards did it a lot longer than the rest of them, but I think they all were involved.
He became more infamous, I guess it would be, because of the fact that he had to have that oil change. Remember when he had all of his blood taken out? And never mind Kobe Bryant getting his knee redone in Germany. Get out of here.
Nope.
Magic overcoming HIV by using some European medical influences. He definitely was able to make a miraculous recovery. But should he have been allowed to compete with it known? I guess it was an Olympic doctor, right, that examined him.
Yeah.
All right. So the doctor gets a positive COVID test, and the guy's in a competition. He was out there the next day competing in the semifinal, which he lost, and they were sort of speculating he ran second in it, but he didn't give his usual balls to the wall effort.
Yeah, the other one, the one who he won the other day, where he won literally by a head at the end of the freaking.
Even that, I mean, and so now he tested positive the day after that 100-meter final.
So like they let you, is it because it's outside? So like, you're not going to give it to other people. Like I don't usually when someone has.
He was in the locker room there with other runners and backstage before they came
I
into
know
the arena.
COVID isn't what it was. It's turned itself in. It's become what we thought it would eventually be, a flu, and
Yeah.
it affects some people more than others. But we're not hearing the crazy stuff we heard 4 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, if he was on his deathbed, he wasn't exactly going to roll out there and
That's what I'm saying.
win
Like,
one for the Gipper.
I know it's different. Some people have it, don't even know they have it. I get it. But you're still, I thought, supposed to like try and not give it to others. Like I thought we're still in that place where we're not just being around people. Like I don't know. I'm a little weirded out by that.
Fuck, I don't know. It seemed like a strange story. It was kind of like, should Greg Louganis have been in there knowing that he had been HIV positive, and then all of a sudden, what are the odds that he cracks his head on the fucking board?
Yeah.
And is dripping blood like he was, in a Truman Capote novel or something, all over the swimming pool. That was a weird one. It seemed to be okay with everybody, right? I mean, you did see him wearing a mask, and you're wondering why would this guy be wearing a mask when he's about to run in the Olympic 200 meters? All of a sudden, he's worried about catching a cold from somebody else or transmitting this thing. It seemed to be readily accepted, though, Lubie. What do you make of that? Should there be any, questioning of whether or not this guy should have been out there with other athletes? Now, I would imagine he's staying in the Olympic Village. I'm not sure what he's a superstar track athlete, has a lot of money, obviously, because these are no longer guys that are competing for under the table cash only, which was substantial back in the day, also. But now it's out in the open, right? I mean, professional payments. I would imagine the appearance fees for Noah Lyles showing up at your track meet somewhere in Austria have to be enormous, no? So anyway, what do you think? I mean, it didn't bother me after the fact we found out about it, but would you have been at all concerned if you were another athlete that Noah Lyles is running around saying, "Hey, I got to win my double, and I don't care that I have COVID"?
If they're saying he's clear and he wants to perform, he can. The fact that he was, and look, you're on a track, you're outside, you're away from each other. I don't care about that. But to be in the locker room together, to be like, even if it's just a cold, other people are performing something they've worked their whole lives for. Like, you don't want to catch, if you've somehow staved off sickness, you don't want to catch a cold now. Like, I find it weird that they knew he had COVID and they had him around everyone. Like,
that was kind of a strange thing.
That's weird. Yes, I take umbrage with that, because these guys and gals and whoever he's coming across, especially Olympic Village, are all over everyone. Like, just look how a cold's affected you, and you're not trying to do all that. Like, if you get a cold, you get a cold. But if someone has COVID, and our friend Brian was like camping in his house for like 10 days with COVID, like this dude's in a locker room, like, with sweat and like, are you kidding me? Like, I don't know. That's weird.
I mean, it looked like it nearly killed him there after the race, and that was hard to watch, especially because I'd already seen on a crawl by the time I saw the actual race that he had run third in the race, and then had said afterwards that he had COVID. You're like, wow, okay, you could kind of see a little of that. I mean, that was one of the most amazing performances ever under the circumstances, just to win the bronze medal. So. But no, the kid definitely established himself as a superstar, and it didn't seem like that offended as many people as maybe it would have had it been a couple of years ago. What do you make? Speaking of these controversies, when we get out of this whole Olympic thing, because the U.S. Men's basketball team, that was wild.
What the hell was that?
I was just reading. I mean, I don't buy these breakdowns. I don't know about you, Lube. I know you have a different theory on this than I do. I'm just saying, if you have this caliber of player,
no, they should have annihilated them. I think that was a joke. I understand they played together, and Jokic didn't even play their best game. Bogdanovic was as integral as fucking Jokic was, and Bogdanovic is a bench guy, not even on the bench in the NBA. Like, most times,
he's a decent NBA player.
He's had on the Hawks a few years ago. He was a big part of that team that did go to the conference finals and lose to the eventual champion Bucks. But that was a few years ago now. Like, I couldn't even tell you what team he's on. He's a guy that has flashes, but he's not really a starter in the NBA. He's more of a bench dude. Like, when you looked at when you were watching that team play against,
look who was on the floor. My God,
it was fucking stupid.
Tatum is again. The professor had to be just felling
Glory, yeah.
seeing Tatum not play a single minute in the game.
I mean, look, I get it. It's team thing, and the Olympics is different. There's less time in a game, so when these guys are used
That
to
should be
fucking
even
around-
more reason that they cream people. No,
Well, they're used to screwing around, so they don't have as much time to come back and build a lead. I don't know. The rules are different. The way they call foul, they call travel, but they don't call a lot of fouls.
zero fouls are called.
Like you're allowed to tackle the people on the U.S.
Yeah.
and they don't call shit.
You're waiting for the guy's looking around for the N1, and it literally gets tackled going into the stands as he goes in for a layup. It goes in somehow.
Yeah,
and no calls, never.
It's
nothing.
a very different game. I get it, but I'm sorry when you're watching. Like LeBron was being covered by a dude that I think was like 6'3". Like you're just watching this, and it's like, I mean,
How did Devin Booker end up being backed down several times by Jokic?
yeah, they
Much.
kept
I mean, what kind of ugly switch is that?
switching them. Yeah,
Switching a guard who doesn't play defense at his position, or maybe he tries. I don't know. I don't mean to condemn it. Devin Booker, not exactly known as a defensive wizard.
Dwayne, and I love Wade, and I don't think he's as bad as some people are saying he is. I think he's okay at this. And Noah Eagle literally sounds like fucking Iron. I'm like, when did Iron go to NBC? Like it fucks me up every time I hear Noah Eagle because they show him and he looks like he's literally 27 and he looks like he's 23.
Yeah.
But then he sounds like his father, who's got to be in his 50s. I'm like, how does he sound like that?
What an amazing legacy there, man. I mean, here's Iron Eagle, one of our favorites. Who I mean, if you look at Iron Eagle, he's an unassuming looking guy, and
yeah, for sure.
You're not figuring, okay, I mean, if I had to pick something that you did and having no idea, would you be the number one broadcaster on CBS? I mean, Nance, how many more years can he really keep faking it like this? Can he? I mean, with Romo babbling away? What do you think? Is that saving Nance's career, actually? Maybe he saw that. If I just let this guy go, I could almost take a Pat Summerall role and go, and there's the kick. And that's your whole fucking broadcast. What the hell is that? Some guys really just luck in the great spots, don't they?
100%.
I mean, I'm sure they worked hard to get there and had to catch breaks and take a lot of shit like everybody else. But, but in this case, well-deserved by Noah Eagle. He seems to be extremely polished at what he does.
He's really good. And I think Wade's okay. I don't know if he's good or bad. Again, I'm biased, I'm sure, but I think he's fine. But he's said this quite often. And I'm like, I don't like disrespecting the opinion of a player because they did play against these players, so they know. Yeah. But he said a lot. Devin Booker, before he became known as a scorer, he's really known as a really good defender. And I'm like, at what? Getting a sandwich?
I don't ever recall that, yeah.
Not a good defender. Like, he's never been known as it. And that's literally a deficiency in his game, is that he may not be a sieve per se, but he's not good. He's a guy that teams will target on offense when he's on defense. So I don't know, Wade. I don't know where Wade's gotten that, but that's not true at all. Stats, anyone who's ever watched him, he himself will tell you, like, he's not great.
Seemed like the narrative was very much like it is with your man Tyler Hero, in a sense. Maybe not quite as exaggerated, but that he wasn't really that interested in defense, and then he realized he had to do something on the other end of the floor, and became a little better at it, or at least was making an effort.
Yeah, he tries. Like, I'm not saying he just sits there, but he's not good at defense. I don't know. Just watching that team is just. When they play like that yesterday, look, and I get it.
How is that possible to be in that circumstance?
When teams get
down
hot,
17.
It was weird. Look, when teams get hot shooting, and they couldn't miss out of a barn.
Yeah.
They couldn't miss. They couldn't miss, and they were hitting from everywhere. But if you notice in the fourth quarter, when USA played actual fucking defense, they didn't make 1 3 the entire quarter. Like, to me, if with their length and their athleticism, if they're covering the perimeter like they really want to, I don't give a shit how good you are from 3. If a guy's draped all over you, you're not making the goddamn 3. So it was a weird performance. It was nice to see Steph look like vintage Steph and LeBron still.
Yeah, I mean, you've got like top notch. I mean, arguably top 25 all-time players. 5 of them on the floor.
At least for sure. Those 3 guys.
Right? I mean, maybe not Booker in that category of top 25 all time, but you got Joel Embiid. You can make a case for him being a top 25. LeBron. Number 1, maybe over Jordan in a lot of people's opinion, or at least 1 and 1A.
Yep.
You've got Kevin Durant.
was
You
nothing
had
left.
4 MVPs on the floor out of the 5 guys that are on the floor for you in the fourth quarter of this game. Steve Kerr, man, what the fuck? And they got Spoelstra as an assistant coach.
Yes. No, that's
Spoelstra.
funny. Is the coaches are just as impressive. You have Kerr, Spoelstra, whatever you think of Tyronn Lue, he did win a title as a coach, and then Few. Few's like the fourth.
It's amazing, yeah.
It's like I don't even
fucking superstars, every player.
And then you have this guy with Serbia who's some raving loon. I'm like, dude, what are you bitching about? You should be down by 40. Like,
and I think I want to say they're like 1-5 against the spread. Which I mean, does that tarnish the gold medal? I think it does.
Exactly.
Never mind the wild, maybe unimaginable and unachievable expectations that the odds makers are. I mean, I guess they realize that people are going to send it in on USA.
Well, they were kicking ass until this freaking game when they were pretty slack on defense. They were very sloppy on offense, and Serbia couldn't miss. So that combination made it very scary. I did not think I'd be watching that until the final buzzer. I was watching like it was a goddamn Heat in the playoffs.
I happened to tune in while the rally was happening in the fourth quarter, like about 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And I'm looking and going, they're losing? You have to be kidding me.
What do you mean? It was annoying. The bench, which has actually outplayed the starters a lot of this, they, with 2 minutes left in the third, they had cut it to 5. So like, all right, cool. And Wade was like, well, yeah, you just wanted to get it within 7 or 6. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, with 2 minutes left, they should be up by the end of this quarter. They put the bench guys in, and they went on a 10-0 run. 15.
That was insane, man.
Like Bam, Edwards, Anthony Davis, they sucked yesterday.
That's your bench, man. I mean, imagine that.
Yeah,
all-star caliber NBA players, and you can't fucking beat Serbia. Get out of here.
It was fucking weird.
All right, so France is up next, though. Wemby, he had decent stats, except for shooting percentage was atrocious, I think, yesterday.
Okay.
So we'll see. Does Evan Fournier, is he on the team? Evan Fournier?
Yeah, supposedly he's lighting it up. I didn't know the guy was still in the league.
I didn't know he was French. No, I mean, I thought, maybe he was Canadian or something.
Yeah.
All right, so that's happening. And you got. I watched a little Marlins baseball last night, Lubie.
I'm not going to lie to you. We're at Landlubbers. Score popped up, and I'm like, oh, fuck, the Marlins are still playing.
Yeah, they're still playing the season.
I forgot that.
Playing out the string on the under.
I forgot.
And but the umpire behind home plate, I was switching back and forth. I have a small fascination. I feel guilty about this, and actually maybe even a little dirty with watching Little League baseball.
No, it's whatever. It's just the problem is you will bet. People bet on it. It's not watching.
Betting on Little League baseball.
Betting is my problem.
They brought in a kid who was like 4'10", couldn't have weighed more than 60 pounds to pitch yesterday in the championship game from the Western Regional in San Bernardino, California, which is a big Little League stronghold there.
Yeah.
But the teams were from like Washington and Idaho, so nobody in San Bernardino gave a fuck. In fact, there was nobody in the stands except like 3 kids' parents, and they were all screaming for little Johnny. And I'm watching this, and I'm always interested in the various aspects of Little League baseball that seem to be absurd and contrary to anything that your understanding of the game would lend you to, to acknowledge, right? So anyway, I mean, and the umpire behind home plate is calling bizarre Little League balls and strikes. Catcher has to jump up in the air, he calls it a strike.
Really?
Balls in the dirt, calls it a strike. Splits the middle of the plate, belt high, calls it a ball. And now that umpiring was only eclipsed by this guy, Bill Miller, who was umpiring for home plate, behind home plate in the Marlins-Reds game last night. Could you live without the box? That's a question that has obvious double entendre connotations. Could you live without the box, Lubie?
I like it in baseball. The problem is it pushes the umps a lot of the time. Like, if they're having a bad day, it's like, oh shit! Like, dude,
how believable is this thing? I don't know. Should we trust it? I mean, if it's foolproof, why don't they just go with that?
I don't know.
Right? I mean,
instead of umps. Yeah, I don't know. They're holding on tight to having the human eye. We'll see just how long that lasts because the technology has gotten so strong, and you've seen less and less of the arguing, less and less of the Lupinella escapades.
Oh, you could have argued every pitch last night. How Schumacher didn't get himself thrown out of the game and suspended for the rest of the season
I feel like
by punching this umpire, Bill Miller. Because, I mean, boy, did they get hosed. I don't say it cost him the game because he was bad for the the other team, too. The Reds and the Marlins were playing. They went to extra innings, and then it looked like the Marlins might wriggle out of the spot that they were in with a strikeout. Ball, literally, I mean, it hit dead center, home plate, breaking ball, belt high, calls it ball 4, and triggers just an enormous rally by the Reds, who ended up winning the thing 10-4. All right, we're going to have the professor. The big board's coming up here, and that's always a pleasure. Last week's hysterical big board about the Olympic Games and the ranking of the most inane of sports that take place in the Olympics was classic. Professor, you want to pop him up here to say hello, Lubie?
It wasn't all inane. Remember, he did like some of them. It was just the idea of all these games, because it wasn't like all that he hated.
You couldn't have hit it or depicted it any better. I mean, it was the greatest illustration yet of team handball when you were talking about how it was a thing like some fucking gym teacher came up with.
We all had that. Like there'd be the day it'd be raining outside, and it was supposed to be like an outside day.
Yeah.
So you'd be stuck in the fucking gym, and they lost the keys to the fucking thing.
Yeah, like Defo said, they didn't have the key to where the good equipment was. So like
basketball, but he had one fucking
dodgeballs on a goal.
So it was like, all right,
yeah,
pick sides.
Just make it up.
Go.
No shit.
And you just made up a fucking game.
It's so true. I mean, it was unbelievable. We had a game like that. It was called Prison Ball.
Yes,
where it was a variation. I don't know if
neighborhood had a game like that.
Yeah. Where
Ours
if you go ahead.
Ours was called Cup Ball, and it was literally a wadded up Dixie cup that we would swat with our hands. You know,
Nice.
if I had been in the right spot, Cup Ball might be in the Olympics now.
In Brooklyn, of course, at PS20, they would just have you go out back and shoot craps. Was better.
I mean, that's useful life skills right there.
Yes.
I mean, really, how many
Learning how to scramble.
people understand craps? Like normally, if you go to the casino with like 10 people,
Yeah.
like you end up wasting your whole time because like 9 people see a craps table and like, how do you play that game?
I don't know what to do.
And yeah, you spend the next 3 hours trying to explain to them, "Oh, 7 is good on the come out roll, but it's very, very bad after that."
Do you trust the guy that's giving the lessons? I actually attended one of those because I was trying to figure out how to play the game a long time ago. And do you trust the guy that's giving the lessons that's a casino employee?
No.
Wouldn't he be teaching you to bury yourself?
No. I mean, look, I love all Mike Diamond and the people at Gulfstream and Paulie, man. But when they would pitch that thing they did once in a while on Saturdays where they teach you how to handicap.
Yes.
You're like, no, I'm not taking your advice on that. Look at you.
Well, at least they're
Did
they
you
don't
drive
care
up
if you
here
win
in
or
a
lose.
Bentley? Because
Yeah.
if not, I don't want your goddamn advice.
Yeah, the casino lessons on how to play these various games, I find a little bit suspect. All right, what did you think, Professor? Did you? I mean, are the American men 1-5 or something like that against the spread? Have you tracked
I
this at all?
thought that was the greatest coaching performance I have ever seen in my life by Steve Kerr. The man had the courage
Yes.
and the conviction to keep Jason Tatum's sorry ass on the bench after clearly, his terribleness had poisoned the whole team through 3 quarters. But, came through in the end and wound up victorious. Why? Because Jason Tatum, I mean, if he wants to take it to the next level for the gold medal game, I would just lie what time the game started to Jason Tatum and just make sure he's not even in the building. Because, France can be tough. So that would be my strategy is I don't want him on the bus. I don't want him anywhere near the team. Lock him in his hotel room.
You have to be reveling in this. Now, how is Tatum taking this? Have we seen any remarks from Tatum?
From what I've seen, not particularly well, but what is he going to say? Like,
Yeah.
is he going to, go pro wrestler and sing the Russian national anthem and hit somebody with a folding chair? Like, yeah, I think your options are limited if you're Jason Tatum in this. I mean, plus, look, if you're Jason Tatum, what are you going to say? It's like, oh, yeah, you got to bench LeBron and Kevin Durant to get me in there. Like, I think everybody recognizes, there's only so many minutes to go around. And if you're a wing on this particular team, it's not going to be easy to crack the rotation.
Yeah, it is strange to see this, though. I mean, I thought of you immediately as I saw him still in a warm-up suit while the rally was being staged, his frantic rally in the comeback.
I don't think the warm-up suit ever came off. I think he
No.
legitimately kept
He
it on
never
the whole
was gonna
game.
play.
That's
Like
it.
he knew I wasn't getting any minutes.
Nice Olympic apparel, though. I mean, whoever is providing, is that Nike providing the apparel for the Olympians?
have no
All of them look great. Anytime you see them in warm-up suits or anything like that. All right, we're going to come back with a big board with the professor. Maybe some picks. You have to be excited, Professor. We have preseason.
I mean, I am, but we're still a couple weeks away, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, when's week 0 in the college game? Week
The
0.
30th.
Next week?
No. 3 weeks. The 30th.
Oh, really? That far
Yeah.
off? Okay.
Again, we're in that zone where it's like preseason has started. We're so close we can smell it, but the meal is actually still. It's like that part of Thanksgiving where the turkey starts to smell throughout the house, but
Yeah.
you're still a couple hours away.
Right. And you're hoping that you remember to actually defrost the thing.
Preseason is like that shitty plate of crackers that they pass out. Where, like, do I really want to ruin my dinner by consuming this? But I'm kind of hungry, so.
The hors d'oeuvres at a bad bar mitzvah, yeah.
No, really, at any event, because like the nicer the meal, the lousier the cracker plate's going to be, right?
True.
You can gauge how good the meal is by how good. If the cracker plate's like fancy, if you're like down at Gulfstream,
right,
and you get the full charcuterie board, you can assume the meal is basically going to suck. But if the meal's going to be good, like if you're a Thanksgiving fan, you're getting like Ritz and those crappy little cheese squares they sell in Publix for BOGO. So like, yeah, it's usually an inverse gauge there.
Remember these cheese things? They came in a circular, like cardboard sort of case. And they all had, aluminum foil on them that you had to pull a string, and they were cut into triangles. What were those things called? And they weren't very good, even though everybody bought them.
My mom buys them called the Laughing Cow. They're pretty similar to.
Oh, the cheese.
I don't know
what the fuck?
Really, the worst one is when they put out the plate and it's got the cubes and it's like 95% cheese.
Yeah.
Because that's all just awful. It's like the way it's like the Swiss cheese that is so hard you might chip a tooth on it.
Yeah.
The cheddar cheese, it kind of smells like it's gone bad. And
Mustang, how long's this been in here?
Exactly.
Cheese so bad. Again, there's an inverted ratio. The better the cheese plate, the worse the meal is. The better the meal is, the worse the cheese plate is.
Would you bet Little League Baseball? Oh, you have bet Little League. No, that was the Greek that was betting Little League Baseball. Would you ever bet Little League Baseball, Professor?
No, it's all fixed, right? Like, Little League Baseball cheats even more than Major League Baseball. It's all like, 17-year-olds playing against 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
12-year-olds on HGA. I saw a clip the other day where they have this kid who's supposedly 12 who hit the ball, I don't know, 150 feet past the fences, and then he's running by the first baseman. He's 6'6" and 250 pounds.
My favorite.
And let's say that DJ Ungalele is
exactly.
Favorite celebrity
NIL from Florida State, so he had to pick up a couple bucks before the fall camp started.
But they list his favorite celebrity, and it's Adam Sandler.
Right.
Exactly. It's like
Who
Jerry
needs to know
Lewis.
that about this kid?
He loves Dean Martin.
Honestly, how do they have that at every Little League World Series? There's some kid who looks like he's 42 years old.
I love that.
It's Danny Almonte syndrome. Yeah,
You find out he's been playing professional softball for 17 years.
He's smoking a cigarette on the bus. Yeah, but
Has
nobody's going to tell him
he
not
gives
to.
his kids money for ice cream.
How do Little League coaches convince themselves I'm the one who's going to get away with this time?
All right, we're going to come back with the professor here in a moment. Now that
The time.
it's 8:39.
Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Recently realized
I don't get it. I don't understand what's going on in America. And again, if you're feeling like, what the hell is the point of being a billionaire if you're going to? I mean, like, as much as Donald Trump talks about the Justice Department out to get him and witch hunt, here's a real witch hunt. The real witch hunt is Ben Affleck in an afro wig portraying you in a major movie that is constantly advertised during the Final Four. I would take a New York indictment over this 10 times out of 10. Every day of the week and twice on Sunday. If my choices were go to prison for a couple of years over sex with a porn star or having Ben Affleck in a curly wig make you look like, and honestly, this is one of the better looking pictures. He looks like a much bigger asshole than most of the rest of the preview. Like, how you let this happen if you're Phil Knight, how you actively signed up for this if you're Phil Knight, I have no idea. Like, I assume it's just that Affleck and Damon ambushed him with this. Like, he had no idea. He signed off, and then he got to actually see what he's being made to look like. Like, Phil Knight, I mean, hey, look, we all know you have spent your life torturing children in your Chinese factories. And that's going to go down as a much more positive note than this stupid fucking movie. Right? I would much rather have them had left Ben Affleck out and made a movie about what goes on in your Chinese factories than have Ben Affleck make you look like this.
Enjoy your trip to work with lots of laughs thanks to Defo and Lubie. Now on the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. Ready for the professor and maybe some picks in the big board. I don't know if you've already engaged or indulged in any preseason football. I was thinking about giving out the unders in the two games last night, and they both went well under the total there. What were they, like low 30s? And neither game cracked 20, did they? They had, 17-3 in the one game? And
yep.
Yeah, so it was ugliness. Okay, did you dive in?
I did. Not very lightly. I more like put a toe in, and no good.
Nothing, huh?
Needed the Panthers.
You probably had a bet against the Patriots. Yeah.
I did. Needed the Panthers money line. I had a France basketball Panthers money line parlay that would have been like 11-1, but not so much with the Panthers on the offense there last night. Not very impressive. I will say, apparently the early reports we got about the transformation of one Joe Milton in Patriots camp looks like it could potentially be true. He was very impressive playing mop-up duty for the Patriots last night. Have to wonder if maybe Bailey Zappi is in trouble for the third-team spot up there in New England, because certainly he's a limited potential guy, and Milton, for all his failures, physically has all the potential in the world.
The Zapster was having a tough time. It seemed like they put baby oil on their hands, the Patriots receivers, a couple of times for this guy. And the pocket collapsing here and there didn't help his cause any, that's for sure. He made a couple of decent throws, but when you're throwing Bailey Zappi out there, aren't you thinking about maybe inclined to take? Well, what is the over-under on the Patriots? Is it really as low as 4 and a hook? Is that possible? I could
see that. They have one of the worst rosters in the NFL. And all we hear of reports is how badly Drake May has struggled throughout the training camp. So, yeah. From what I've read, mostly projecting Jacoby Brissett to be their starting quarterback, which, you saw in Indy a couple of times, not a good situation. And, Brissett's a local kid. I never in a million years would have figured him to have what are we on? I
think he's 11 years in the NFL.
Yeah. a decade plus career in the NFL. I would have, if you saw him play in high school, you would have never seen that coming, at least not as a quarterback. He was one of those guys, big, great athlete. You could have seen him project out at a lot of positions. I don't know, as an NFL quarterback was necessarily one of them.
All right, on this smorgasbord of betting opportunities that I'm staring at here in the New York Post, are you inclined to get involved in anything that you could recommend
I'm
to our
probably
listeners?
not, but if I'm going to do anything, I would go with the teams that got a game under their wing strategy here. I would probably take Houston and lay the 2.5 tonight. Stroud going to play. Mills and Case Keenum, both very solid veteran quarterbacks at depth, and they both look pretty good against the Bears, moving the ball in the first half. So I would probably be inclined to lay the 2.5 there against Pittsburgh. Again, you're looking at training camp in Pittsburgh, and all the reports are that Russell Wilson has been kind of a flaming disaster, and Justin Fields getting ready to take his starting position in Pittsburgh. So some uncertainty there. And then I would probably be inclined to take the Bears tomorrow. I think getting 1.5 from the Bills. Obviously, Josh Allen's not going to see very much time. And the Bills, a cap concern team, have been shedding their depth for a couple of years here. So probably not that good once you get into the second and third teamers with Buffalo. On the other hand, if you watch that Chicago game, what happened? Brett Rippon looked very impressive.
He looked good.
Moving the ball against the Houston Texans. So maybe Chicago found a little depth. Hard to say. Rippon, a guy, honestly, sort of similar in his college career, got better every year at Boise State after kind of a rough start. So we'll see. Like I said, those would be my two. I'd be inclined to take the two teams on their second game as opposed to their first game.
All right, Professor. Are we ready, Lubie, to unveil this week's edition of the Big Board?
I'm ready.
By the way, it was good to hear from Andy this morning, who said that he played in your trivia contest last night at Landlubbers and then checked into a hospital immediately after.
I did not know that part.
Hey,
not any reflection on the culinary offerings at Landlubbers. Had nothing to do with it. And he's got more problems than the English patient. So we're glad to see that he was okay. All right, big board this week. I don't know. Last week's was sensational. Knocked it out of the park. It stuck with me, that whole thing with the gym class thing. That was sensational, Professor. And that was just one of many highlights of last week's big board. So where are we going this week?
Well, this week is one of those weeks where we have almost too many things going on. There's like 30 different stories we could do, but they all do have a similar theme. So that takes us to this week's big board. And again, we could probably take any one of these stories and do a whole board on it.
Yeah.
But we're going to go with the generalized theme. And I think it's up there, Lubie, if you want to pop it up. I think we caught Lubie off guard.
Oh, this week in Crazy People. Wow.
So that's this week, which is the big board of the week in Crazy People. Because from the stock market to politics, through the Olympics, through the entire world of sports, yeah, we're pretty fucked up as a society. And we just wanted to have it on display here, which, again, reflected, I guess nothing good. But we'll start with number 5, which is from the Olympics, and that is meet Canadian pole vaulter Alicia Newman, who, after winning a bronze medal, decided to celebrate by twerking, which, first of all, is it appropriate to celebrate a bronze medal? Is it appropriate? Did the Simpsons have it right? Isn't a bronze medal actually kind of shameful? Like, you've worked your whole life at this, and the best you could be in some obscure sport is third. Like, I don't know that a bronze medal is actually willing to. If you take your bronze medal to the Pawn Stars, what are you getting? Like $500? Like,
you see a bunch of those, yeah.
Congratulations, you spent 20 years on your life to get something that they'll give you $500 for at the Pawn Stars. So I don't know that it's a. But the thing about Alicia here is that the other best known fact about her, covered extensively in the New York Post, is that she funds her Olympic training and her pole vaulting. Anybody want to guess how?
Pole dancer.
Stripper.
OnlyFans.
Oh, and
She's got a very
nice.
active OnlyFans site, and she was defending it, saying she had met a lot of nice people in the community from OnlyFans. And I got to say, I doubt this a little bit. This story seems a little suspect to me because by in the community, if you mean pole vaulting fans, I kind of doubt there's a lot of those on OnlyFans. On the other hand, if you mean old perverts who want to see you naked, well, first of all, hi, my name is Ken. No. That community, I believe, is very strong on OnlyFans. But do I really think that OnlyFans has this dedicated pole vaulting sub community? Kind of doubt it. Not really buying into that. Pretty sure that's what the twerking was about. More about selling your OnlyFans and less about your bronze medal in pole vaulting. Because again, not sure a bronze medal is something you actually want to celebrate.
That would be a pose that would be appropriate for various forms of pole vaulting, apparently. And
again, she is, after all, pole vaulting.
yeah,
well, yeah,
that's outstanding. Did you pass that note along to Jim Sarney for his America's Notepad Olympic edition?
Well, she's Canadian, so no.
All right. Excellent. All right, that's number 5. I mean, this is a very, as our good friend Al Bernstein would say, intriguing list so far.
Number 4, and I'm not here to offer financial advice to anybody, but I just don't feel like this is going to work out. Number 4, Pitbull buys the naming rights to FIU's football stadium, immediately rebrands it Pitbull Stadium, paying $1.2 million a year to rebrand FIU's football stadium and change his official title to official entrepreneur of FIU athletics. Let me just say here, and again, I'm not really. Who doesn't like Pitbull, right? He seems like a pretty good dude. He's never getting himself in trouble.
Sure.
You never read, stories about like Pitbull does drive-by shooting and runs over people while drunk driving. The normal rapper stuff doesn't really seem to apply to Pitbull. But on the other hand, when was the last time Pitbull had a hit? Like, I feel like it was like 2010, maybe. Like,
what was his big song where he was jumping up and down? I guess he does that on every song.
I was going to say, which song? They all Pitbull jumping up.
But didn't he had a big hit at one point?
He's had a lot.
He's had like 12 big hits, but they all, were like a decade ago.
Yeah.
I mean, again, so maybe Pitbull's still big in some communities, but like, is Pitbull in a position to just piss $1 million to $2 million away a year?
I would think.
I don't know. Maybe he saved his money and invested well, but I don't think it's coming from current income stream. And number 2, this is the more important question. We have 3 people who live in South Florida, have been in South Florida a long time, and are all football fans and sports guys. Does anybody on this panel know where FIU's football stadium is? Because I have no freaking clue.
Yeah,
it's down there in that like old Tamiami Park.
Yeah, there you go. It's down there somewhere over by Tamiami. It's a football stadium, and nobody in South Florida knows where it is.
Yeah, you can't find it with Google Maps.
Nationally.
Yeah.
I mean,
shouldn't he have had the whole team nicknamed FIU Pitbulls?
Pitbulls.
For $1 million too, Professor.
Someone
that's all he gets.
mentioned that on the radio and came up with there may actually be a city ordinance against owning pit bulls in Miami-Dade County.
Probably, yeah.
I believe there is. Yes.
I mean, can you really name the team after a dog it's illegal to own
That's
in
banned,
the county
yes.
where we think the football stadium is, but we're not exactly sure where this football stadium is, so it may or may not be there. I just don't see this investment working out for Pittsburgh. I know where the FAU football stadium. I know the FAU football stadium is really, really nice. It's got like a private deck and suites. For all I know, the FIU stadium is just a glorified high school stadium. Like, has anybody been to the press box?
I believe I have been there. I don't know if I've been in the press box.
I've been to a couple games. It 100% feels like a glorified high school stadium. 100%.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe Pitbull did not make the best investment with this particular. And
could have done more with $6 million, no question.
One of the caveats in the contract is Pitbull gets now like 10 dates a year at the stadium where he can throw concerts or do whatever he wants to do, which again sounds like a pretty good deal for Pitbull.
Can do better
except nobody knows where the stadium is. And how big? How big can FIU stadium possibly be? How many seats?
It's like 20,000. Like
really?
I think you would do something. I mean, it's definitely not 40. It's not a normal college football.
I would think it would be like 5 or 6.
No.
I wouldn't. I would think like legitimately, the Hard Rock amphitheater.
Oh
has
no,
to
I
be-
think it's bigger than that.
Okay.
I'd say 15 to 20, maybe.
Yeah, it's like,
in
but
between
again,
the-
remember, stadiums are usually 60 to like even
Yeah.
FAU, I think is 30 or 40. Like
It'd be
Again-
like a Lockhart Stadium type.
it's
of
20,000. It's literally 20,000, which is literally
Okay.
a high school stadiums hold 50. I mean, it's like an arena. Like he's Pitbull. You would think he would do more than that. Like, I don't know, whatever.
I'm just saying.
They may have made an attempt too. I think they spiffed it up a little bit, so
They did.
they have
I think it used to be
quasi
like
sky boxes and stuff.
13,000 or
Yeah.
even less. I think it was like 12 or 13,000. I think they've expanded a little bit because they're hoping to be good one day.
It sounds like you two pitched this idea to Pitbull. Honestly, you're significantly
it's a good
selling
idea.
FIU's football stadium.
I don't think it's a good idea at all.
Again,
I think
lived here my whole life, and other than I think I sort of remember it being somewhere on the Turnpike Extension Drive to the Keys because I think I
Yeah.
drove by it when I went to Key Largo one time and noticed it. I have no idea where this fucking stadium is. I have no idea if anybody's ever been to. I assume because Blake used to call FAU games that he's been to the stadium
Yes,
at some point.
definitely,
I don't know
yeah.
anybody else who's ever been to this stadium. I feel like you could have gotten a better price for this, Pitbull. I feel like honestly, you could have knocked hundreds of thousands of dollars off this deal, and FIU would have taken the money because I don't feel like you were trying to outbid Coke for this. I don't feel like
No.
there was heavy corporate interest in buying the naming rights to FIU's stadium.
Yeah, they didn't have to dedicate the full switchboard to incoming calls from potential
Again, I feel like literally your other
suitors for that
competitor
advertising spot.
was Uncle Luke's Wingstop location.
All right, that's number 4. You could buy a club with bigger crowds than Pitbull Stadium.
Number 3, and it's interesting that Lubie played that overly long intro when we go in because it's pretty related to that, and that is there's an announcement this week that there will be a movie coming out that Ben Affleck is going to play Hulk Hogan in a movie version of how Hulk Hogan took down Gawker and his famous lawsuit. And the only conclusion that I can come here is that sometime during COVID, I died and am currently in hell. There's like a story a week that makes me wonder if maybe I am just living purgatory out. And this is definitely one of them. First of all, congratulations to Hulk Hogan, because honestly, I've never thought we'd be dealing with Hulk Hogan on the big board. It's like his 3rd or 4th appearance just in the last couple months. So congratulations to the Hulkster on a very good run here, post-wrestling career. Number 2, you signed up for a more interesting story than I think you maybe got pitched on this, Ben Affleck, because I mean, I really wonder how in this movie you're going to deal with this whole thing is about a sex tape where I'm banging Bubba the Love Sponge's wife. And like, is Matt Damon going to play Bubba the Love Sponge? Is that what? Who's playing Bubba the Love Sponge
That's
here? And who's
crazy.
playing Bubba the Love Sponge's wife in this? Is Jeremy Renner going to be thrown in there as Bubba the Love Sponge with a
Maybe
Boston
J-Lo
accent?
reunites for the project.
I don't think J-Lo. I think maybe you get Jennifer Garner as the wife.
There you go.
Have the wife as the wife of the Love Sponge.
But just a few. Number 1, Ben Affleck, how are you going to handle the hair? How are you going to handle Hulk Hogan's silky golden Chinese man on a white guy hair? Because like, I don't see you pulling that look off. To be honest, though, and honestly, Ben Affleck, at your age, do you really want to shave the horseshoe into your head? Because that might not come back. That's not a guarantee. You shave it all off and do the Hulk Hogan horseshoe. I'm not sure entirely that's possible. That's
Still
that you're gambling that's going to grow back.
This could
like-
lead to being a spokesman for the hair club for men, you're saying?
Very, very risky on
Career
Ben
over,
Affleck's
yeah.
part. This is not necessarily the greatest idea. But again, congratulations to Hulk Hogan for once again appearing on the big board. Didn't see that coming. But again, if I saw any of this coming, I don't know. I burned down the studio or something.
All right, that's
Like I
number
saw
3.
this news this week and I was like, dear God, what does this say about America? Like where are we going as a society where this is something newsworthy?
Affleck was being panned in some little item I read in the Post the other day for blowing off. I mean, he did the interview, and it was kind of worse than that one he did with Bill Simmons. some
was
Australian
drunk.
entertainment show, and literally the woman said, "This is the biggest asshole I've ever encountered in my lifetime."
And now he's playing Hulk Hogan, which there's a good synergy there.
Typecasting. All right, that's number 3. Pretty sure I died, and Emin Hill.
Number 2, again, and we don't like to do. We'd like to keep it to the world of sports, but we always can't. And this intersects with the world of sports, and that is Donald Trump names his favorite UFC fighter in an interview. It's an Islamic terrorist, and Colin McGregor gets pissed off about it. Literally, a terrorist, a Cheeto, and the Lucky Charms mascot walk into a bar. It's the start of a joke. Like, I don't know what else to do with this particular story. And for those of you who think I'm being racist or mean, calling Khabib a terrorist, I would like to remind you that just last year, Khabib's father's gym, where Khabib trained for 18 years as a child, was shut down by his country's security service because 21 students in it participated in the terrorist attack. I'm not making that up out of hand here. Like his gym where he trained was a terrorist training center. So number 1, nice pick, Donald Trump. I go with the radical Islamist fighter whose father is being hunted by security services because he trained terrorists. And it pissed off Lucky Charms here. In general, I think that's a good thing. If you've upset Colin McGregor, hey, I'm okay with that as a general rule. Maybe he'll punch him like he did the Heat mascot. But again, like this starts as a setup to a joke. Is again the guy who looks like the Lucky Charms mascot, a terrorist and a Cheeto walk into a bar. I mean,
it's a rather unhinged Trump yesterday.
This is the world we live in, where one of our presidential candidates starts a controversy because he's asked about his favorite UFC fighter. He's asked about who his favorite is in human cockfighting, and it upsets Colin McGregor, who, by the way, is now apparently a political figure in Ireland somehow. Like, this is where we've gotten to as a society.
Imagine that.
A cage fighter who's now a political figure when not doing remakes of Roadhouse.
Exactly.
The bad guy. This is where we are in 2024 as a planet. I mean, I got to say, if global warming kills us all, we kind of deserve it, don't we, at this point?
Pretty much.
Like, how much more unglued can we come as a planet that Donald Trump and Colin McGregor is a pseudo sports sets / political story at this point? I mean, well, I'm not a religious person, but it's the kind of thing that makes you think we're kind of begging for the apocalypse.
No doubt about it. No doubt. No, Trump was particularly brilliant yesterday. I mean, he was really on his game. If he wanted to prove that he was now the senile one in the race. Just absolutely out of his mind. I didn't watch
it. I honestly, thank God football's starting again, because I don't think I can deal with 90 more days of this stuff on either side at this point. Like, and again, randomly, people like Hulk Hogan and Colin McGregor are now part of politics. Like,
it reminds me back in the day in Brooklyn in the 50s when you would have an argument with another kid. Oh yeah, my dad was in the army. What the fuck did your dad do? It's like, I wasn't in the army. Why do you want me to tell you? I mean,
I want to go back in history and like explain to the founding fathers that a pro wrestler and a cage fighter are now somehow important political figures. But then I realized, I'd have to explain what a pro wrestler and a cage fighter is.
Let's not forget. I mean, what was she not a cabinet member? Linda McMahon.
There you go.
Affiliated with one of the, really just wholesome organizations that was ever created.
Whose husband is now being investigated by the FBI for sex trafficking. So,
What a surprise that they would be high-ranking officials in the Trump administration.
Again, if you're a Democrat and you think we're doing a pro-liberal, I will say it's comments to you that on your best day, you can barely beat this guy.
It's incredible. It really is. It's USA Serbia all over again. It really is. How can this possibly be? All right, that's number 2. Another beauty here by the professor. Number 1 about to be unveiled on the list of strange.
I mean, every time we think
Week of Weird, yeah,
we can't get any crazier
Crazy.
in our society. There is one man who, for like the last year, has continually stepped up and proven, no, I see the bar and I can limbo beneath that time and time and time again. And that takes us to our number one story in the week of crazy. And that is, so I had this dead bear in my car and I had to go to the dinner for Peter Luger. I think the undiscovered part of this story, the part that needed more delved into, for those of you who don't know, go watch the video clip because I can't explain it. It is literally RFK Jr., a man who 7% of the country roughly say they plan to vote for president,
Which is a lot
told Roseanne Barr like a 5-minute long rambling story about the time he was driving around New York City with a dead bear in his car, realized he had to get on a plane, so he couldn't just leave the dead bear sitting in his car. So faked a bicycle accident because he also had a bicycle in his car that he was planning to dump, and dumped the bear's body in Central Park while faking that it had been killed in a bicycle accident. For those who didn't watch the video, part of the story is he had the dead bear because he was planning on skinning and eating the dead bear, which, okay. But he had to go to Peter Luger for a dinner. It might have been a political ride, I don't know.
Yeah.
Some sort of dinner at Peter Luger's, and he had the car and drove to Peter Luger. What the fuck did the valet guy think when he got in the car and there was a bicycle and a dead bear in the back?
Maybe along number five's,
Oh my!
I mean, I get that New York City is a wild place, but if you're a valet parking guy, I gotta think a dead bear sticks out as a little bit fucking memorable when you jump in the car.
Even in New York, you're right.
Not Kentucky.
Professor.
You're not just finding wild.
I don't think there's anywhere, Kentucky, Alaska. I don't think there's anywhere where a bicycle and a dead bear is a normal part of what's in the back seat of your car.
This is a presidential candidate getting out of the car. On top of that, wow.
Again, at this point with RFK Jr., literally nothing would surprise me when he starts to tell a story. Literally nothing. He could be like, oh, well, there was that time my friends and I were goofing around and did a couple of bumps, and we found out that, the Lindbergh baby, the window was open that night. So we went in. Nothing would surprise. That time I was hanging out in Hollywood, Florida, and I went to a pilot class, and there was this Muslim guy with me. Nothing with RFK Jr. would surprise me at this point. But more to the point, when it comes to RFK Jr., have we done the DNA test? Because the vibes I'm getting are a lot less Bobby and a lot more Teddy. Like, are we sure this is actually RFK Jr.? Like, this feels a lot more like Ted's kid.
This needs to be investigated. You're right.
I mean, Barraquiddick reeks of Teddy, not Bobby. Like,
yeah.
Oh, well, this bear pretended to be in a car, so I just dropped the body in Central Park. That feels a lot more like Ted than it does Bobby. And look, we've all been there. We all know that family that had too many kids, and the good genetics were just gone with the last one. So we get the idiot brother. Every family who's got a bunch of kids has one. I get it. But, I mean, come on. Like, I was driving around with a dead bear in my car, and I didn't know what to do with it, so I dumped it in Central Park along with this bicycle that was also in my car.
And Mayo would approve the fact that he chose Peter Luger's over skinning a bear and seeing what he could do with the meat. It would seem like a wiser choice.
Well, honestly, as I'm watching this video, I really thought the punchline was going to be he took the bear into Peter Luger and they cooked it for him. But it went much wilder than that. So,
Does anybody really eat bear? Who's eating bear?
No, I've never heard of even a delicacy anywhere in the world.
Anything believable with RFK Jr. at this point. Whatever the next story it's going to be, maybe at this point, impossible to surprise me. Hey, honestly, maybe he should be part of the Hulk Hogan movie. Maybe his next story is going to be, so Hulk Hogan and I were banging Bubba the Lunch Sponge's wife, and I pulled out the video camera because I figured out what the hell. Let's do a sex tape.
Classic all the way through, Professor, as always. Will we be seeing you at the track later on today?
I think I'm going to pass today, but I'll catch up in a couple of weeks here, and we'll.
The roulette wheel has your name on it.
Next week we will be doing college football preseason picks. So.
Oh, beautiful!
Make sure you tune in for that.
Okay, all right, sounds good, Professor. Have a good one. Always brilliant.
All the best.
Thank you for being with us here this morning. All right, Lubie. We will be Gulfstream Park later on today. The bad news for you degenerates out there is that Saratoga has canceled its racing
Oh, really?
in deference to possible impact of. Well, they had rain there last night, and they're anticipating this Hurricane Debbie, which is now down to what, like a giant rainstorm.
It's a storm. Yeah.
Yeah, that was going to impact the area, so they waved it off in advance. Which kind of sucks if you were
That
planning your
sucks.
weekend at Saratoga, but
You're gonna spend
nonetheless,
time there, yeah.
yeah. Because but we have a contingent from South Florida going up there next week, including Jersey Kyle and Dave Gurgly and our friend
Yep.
Joey Esposito from Cafe Seville. Who Kyle is describing the crew that he hangs out with at Saratoga. You would want to be in his crowd because there's a guy there that I guess he like owns the town that they hang with, who was some big construction guy or something. But he's like one of those guys snaps his fingers. There's a limo. And apparently he just pays for the whole ride for everybody for the whole time. Man.
Really?
Like, yeah, it picks up like 10 grand worth of dinner checks during the course of a few days, which
That's interesting.
Jersey's a noble guy. He's like, I'm not going to go because if you're going to pay, I'm not going to go, See, I don't take that approach. If you're going to pay, I'm happy to go.
You want to pay, you can.
I'm even happier than if I had to pay myself.
Exactly.
That's for sure. All right, so we'll be at Gulfstream Park later on today. There will be racing action there and elsewhere around the country. Los Saratoga Scratchola. Today, did want to pay tribute to one of my favorites. I mean, you couldn't help but enjoy this guy, Chichi Rodriguez, the golfer with the swashbuckling, the original swashbuckling Spaniard, right? Never mind Seve, never mind Sergio, never mind John Rahm. Chichi Rodriguez was always fun.
Oh, he passed.
He and Lee Trevino were the two guys you wanted to see a lot of on TV because they were always having a good time, right? What's with these stiffs? Come on, Scotty Scheffler. Snap the fuck out of it. Let some people, think that there's actually a little bit of joy in this game. I understand it's frustrating, right? You got 4 shots to get the ball in a hole from 500 yards away. Get the fuck out of here. Who's doing that? Unbelievable, Lubie.
Yep,
U.S. Open this year at, Bethpage Black? Or next year. Bethpage Black, yeah.
Okay, look at you.
I can't believe that was the first course I ever played golf on.
That's
Bethpage
crazy.
Black. How crazy is that?
That's crazy.
It must really be almost impossible now because back then, it was just getting like the foliage going and everything. It was there, but I would think it's even more treacherous. I can't imagine that course that I played as a high school kid with zero golf experience. Balls are flying. Yeah, look, you got a baseball swing and no concept of the rules whatsoever. I think I had a fungo bat in my bag back then. Just for fun. Every now and then you'd say, hey, fuck this, and throw one up. Golf ball with a fungo bat. If you could hit it.
Oh, that's fun.
Fucking beautiful, man. 472 yards. Oh, look at that. He's on the green. All right, Lubie. Always a lot of fun. We'll see you at the track. And we will catch you guys on this program again on Monday. Be a lot of football action. Dolphins, we never even mentioned. They're playing tonight.
Yeah, they get
against
underway.
the Atlanta Falcons. I guess they had the dual practices. Chris Perkins was talking about that.
Yep.
And so, they're in action tonight. That used to be a big deal in town, Now, nothing.
I've heard
And this is what a team with great expectations.
That's true.
So we'll see. All right, we got to get out of here. Thanks so much, people, for joining us. We'll see you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
It's 9:13.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to